that I'm filming them. Fireworks.
Some over by the
Green thing?
yeah, over by the pet supply, right there.
Okay.
Isn't it better for you to see them instead of filming it?
What do you
But
mean?
you're not going to be able to see them. You know, it's better to see them with your eyes than try and film it. Oh well, I think that's it. It wasn't much. Oh.
Yeah, so today I tried going to bed at roughly 3 in the morning. Or really, that's roughly the time I was able to fall asleep within the spare room. After starting to try, I think around 2:20 in the morning. But oddly enough, I slept until roughly 12:45 p.m. By which time it was pretty much time for me to get ready to go to Sean's house for the 4th of July today. So I went over to Sean's place at around 1 in the morning. I'm currently still hearing some fireworks, I think. I think throughout the whole time, we heard at least some fireworks. At least occasionally. Throughout the whole time we stayed at Sean's place, which was from 1, roughly 1 to roughly 10 at night. It's currently 10:43 p.m. right now. Our Newcastle Wi-Fi seems to be a bit wonky tonight. So I'm going to try connecting to the guest Wi-Fi. Sean ended up making a meal of some baked beans, some pasta salad, a steak, and some potatoes. think they were technically supposed to be salt potatoes, but they seem to have the skin removed. Based on what I saw of them. I didn't consider asking Dad if I could bring that plastic bag of thin little blocks of styrofoam and markers. Because I don't think he would have wanted me to bring that stuff over to Sean's house. And I had concerns that I would make a mess onto the styrofoam blocks because Sean was cooking quite the meal. He also prepared ears of corn and had cookies. Excuse me. He had a variety of beverages to drink and primarily had Arizona ginseng tea with cubed ice cubes provided by a dispenser he has installed built into his fridge. Though oddly enough, the dispenser couldn't dispense water when I tried to use the water option to get water and cubed ice. I had thought that maybe the dispenser had broke or something, but no, it still gave me cubed ice, so I just got the water from the kitchen sink. This is where I'm at currently for the Watchtower Ruins building. Excuse me, I had about in total in one sitting 4 mini cookies with candy pieces that are probably a generic version of M&M's. And when I initially came in, I was sort of expecting there to be a dog. but it ended up not being there because apparently it's owned by a family member and they took it over to their place of residence. The dog. While I was at Sean's house, I primarily worked on the 99 Dan Herring. I did some work to flesh out the hospital scene, expand on it. Then I made my first draft in Camtasia with the 6 raw video file that contains an interaction between Kent and Ginger after the scene involving Sarah in the bathroom of the RV, and then the hospital scene. I made this draft primarily to see if the Dan Hemming voice, aka the Eric voice, is any different when run through the narrator's voice app through BlueStacks versus when, as done previously, it's done through Rapper Offline. And it doesn't seem to be any different to me. The thumb I injured currently looks like this. So it should be at least a little healed up by now. And I also made that new draft to try and figure out what background to make behind Ginger as part of that last interaction, at least for now, between Ginger and Kent. I ended up settling on a Dark Night with Stars and 2 RV images I found through, I believe, Bing Images, though I got the star props from an older template I made, which is the spiritual successor to Starters. I moved around the star props, which consist primarily of, is essentially white dots against a black background. It's a bit dangerous to eat an ear of corn when next to a laptop, at least when it's been boiled, it seems, because as you bite into the ear, that warm water will sort of splash out a bit, so and once I discovered that, I kind of turned away at least 90 degrees from my laptop on the dining room table, which I was there for most of the time. I was at Sean's house, but I would occasionally go out and hang out with Sean, my dad, and Bill, who are all sitting outside on outdoor patio chairs. It went beyond being just plain old plastic white chairs. One, to keep the blood in my legs moving, and 2, because at just about every single point, being outside left me feeling cooler than being inside within the dining room area. And I ended up having seconds, but only of the mac salad, or really pasta salad, because if you say mac salad, you typically think of macaroni pasta with mayo and celery sliced up. The proper term actually is pasta salad, because when you say that, you typically think of, in this case it was pasta, the noodly sort, with some cherry tomatoes, and whatnot. It was pretty good. When I went to blur the background image I created to go behind Ginger, which I ultimately created through, after mixing up the star props, putting two RV images at the bottom of the intended background. I went into the snipping tool app on my laptop and used 5-second delays to get full screen snaps. Though in that case, I kept doing it again because it kept rejecting the full screen snip because there would be a white dot that would seem to be cut off. Which isn't the kind of look I want for my stars, because I don't think that's very realistic. Then again, it's not exactly best to have stars be white dots. Although stars do seem to be nothing more than white dots if you're in the urban centers due to the light pollution against the night sky, which at times tends to be either black or a very dark blue/purple. I can barely see any of those white dot stars at all due to the light pollution, but in reality, if you go to rural areas or to really remote places, it's a whole different story. And perhaps the best way to depict that isn't just to have a bunch of white dots against a black background. Well, that's what I'm thinking. If I get a city expansion, maybe I could vastly improve the barracks, perhaps. It's a possibility. Though I may probably have to upgrade the prosperity towers in order to increase my production of supplies by just a little bit, at least. The first online image blur tool I used seemed to just have a problem with de-brightening my white dots as stars, make it look like I had put a shading prop on top of it. So I searched for another one that wouldn't do that, and I found the website befunky.com, which seems to be a pretty good image editor. And I applied a blur of 15 in order to defocus the background and have it focus more on Ginger. But as it seems, it appears that's just an effect of image blurring sometimes. From my perspective, and from your perspective, if you watch the completed episode when it comes up, it just seems like a shading prop was put over it. But yeah, BeFunky seems to be a pretty good online secondary image editing option to go alongside with LunaPic. It seems to be a pretty good option, and I'm liking it so far. Didn't require me to log in, just like LunaPic, but offered features that LunaPic doesn't seem to already have. So, it's a good secondary image editing site for me. And right now I'm just most likely going to be working on styrofoam drawings that I'm planning on using as character props within some scenes, it seems. Both between the interaction between Kent and Ginger and during the hospital scene.